All right, good evening once again, and welcome to our tonight's seminar organized by International Skills Development Center, ISDC. Just to bear in mind that International Skills Development Center was established to provide, and they are providing to-date and current market need training programs, and also customized corporate training, short courses and professional courses to develop the skills. Right, with that to bear in mind, tonight we have organized a seminar on the challenges for human resource professionals, especially in this global pandemic situation. Our tonight guest or speaker is Dr. Shirin Shamalakanas. I'd like to give a brief intro about our speaker before we start. Of course, we'll get to know more from the speaker herself. Dr. Shirin completed her doctorate degree from Victoria University, Switzerland, while she did her master's and bachelor from the Nottingham Trent University, UK. Dr. Shirin has more than 20 years of experiences in this education industry. Dr. Shirin has also served in different corporate organizations like IBM Malaysia, McCann Malaysia, Solsys Malaysia, and Rapid Communicators Malaysia. Currently, Dr. Shirin is working as an academician in Health Academy in Berhad. So I'd like to invite our guest speaker tonight, Dr. Shirin Shamalakanas. Dr. Shirin, it's over to you. Can you hear me?
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Shuhil. Thank you all of you for coming. I hope you can hear me. Am I being clear to you? Can you hear me? Anyone having any problems listening?
Put in the presentation view, maximize your speaker.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. Welcome to the seminar. Today we are going to speak. I would like to share with you on the challenges of HR professionals in COVID-19 pandemic. As you know, all of us have faced challenges during this COVID-19 pandemic, not only HR, but every industry. And therefore, we'd like to look at them. And I hope this seminar will be beneficial to you. I hope you will learn and be able to practice in your own industry, in your own workplace. Yeah. And at the end of the seminar, you may feel free to ask me any questions that you would like. All right, thank you very much. Okay, you see, none of us had ever thought that the COVID-19 would actually appear and happen, happen in these times and age. It was actually a cultural shock. It was a shock for all of us because it is something very different. We have never experienced it in our lifetime. And as HR professionals, human resource professionals, we need to keep abreast and we need to be ready. We need to be prepared because we deal with people, and people are the most important assets in the organization. So here we are today to discuss the top HR challenges that managers are facing today due to the COVID-19 outbreak. All right, I hope this seminar will be of use to you. It will be beneficial, and I really hope you learn something. All right, okay, all right. Okay, first and foremost, we will look at the mental health and well-being. You see, the sudden shift in cultural in work, most of us are working from home, or at least have worked from home for the past year. All right, at work from home, and this is actually a cultural shift. It is something very different. We have never experienced it before. But working from home is actually a change, and the working environment has changed. Working in the office is different, working in the house is different. Lots of people love working at home because we have the flexibility and the freedom. Whereas working from the office is more rigid. You have to follow the SOPs, the procedures, So it is a cultural shift. It is a new mindset. It affects the mental health and well-being. For some people, they do better at home, while some people do better at the office. Alright, so whatever it is, it affects your mental health and well-being as a human being. So if you're a manager, you must take care. You must be concerned about the health and well-being of your staff to ensure that everyone is okay, everyone is well, and everyone is healthy. All right, that is my first point. It actually affects your mental health and well-being. Okay, but during the COVID pandemic, many people have said they are able to actually spend more time at home with their kids, with their parents, with their spouses, more times for themselves, being able to exercise, being able to diet, eat well, sleep well, So it has actually inculcated a healthy lifestyle in so many of us. Okay, so many, because when you go to the office, you don't actually have the time to work, to exercise, to work out. You actually have to squeeze it into your work day. But being at home, lots of people were able to have a healthy lifestyle. Okay, that's the first challenge. The second challenge managers face managing remote work. You see, in the Asian culture, we always work in the office, and therefore as managers, we manage our staff in the office. All right, there is no remote work location. Whereas if you work in an MNC, in a multinational organization, in a big organization, then there is work from home. You work remotely. There's virtual office. There's work from home arrangement. All right. Whereas when you work from the so there's whereas when you work from therefore when you work from home, managers have to talk to you, communicate all remotely. Everything is done remotely, and it is not easy because not every organization has the remote system. So basically, you rely on the emails, WhatsApp, Yahoo messengers. You rely on communication like that to actually engage and speak and communicate with your staff. But the focus is on employee productivity. Work, whether it's from home or working from the office, what is important is employee productivity. Employees are able to produce, are able to communicate, are able to benefit for the organization as well as for themselves. All right, so this is a challenge for managers who have never worked remotely, managing remote work. Okay, I hope you're able to follow. If you find that I'm a bit too fast, you would like me to repeat, please say so. Then I'll be happy to repeat. Okay, then point number 3 is lack of agility. One of the major reasons why HR teams are struggling is due to the lack of agility. Agility means freedom. What do you mean by that? But what do you mean by that? You see, many times, especially in the Asian context, they are not designed for agility. Agility meaning flexibility. As HR professionals, we are all following SOPs. We follow a set of SOPs. We follow the procedures. We follow the rules and regulations of the organization. We're not allowed to just like that twist and change. And you cannot do that because everything is documented and approved, and everything is a standard guided SOP. So it's very important that it's important HR professionals will become more agile, we become more flexible. We are able to flex with the situation, with the environment. You see, like what happened, the COVID pandemic, we had to work from home. So what happens then? So as HR, we have to be flexible. We have to ensure that all our staff is well, they are safe, and we are able to accommodate them working at home. We're able to accommodate them working from home. Okay. So as HR, we need to have freedom, we need to have agility, we need to be flexible in other ways, in other words, flexible. So managers need to be flexible with staff because they are only human. Okay, they are only human. Okay, that's the challenge number 3. What is the next challenge we see? Employee communication. You see, when you work in remote locations, remotely, everyone is in their home, and their homes can be far from the office, can be near the office. Everyone is working remotely. So what happens? Communication can become a challenge. You see, if your internet is not stable, your Wi-Fi is not stable, then what happens? You cannot communicate, internet down. So you see, if you're working at the remote location, you're working at the outskirts, you're working a place where the Wi-Fi is not stable, then communication will be a problem. You get what I mean? Communication will be a problem. That's why it's so important. Internet is so important these days. Wi-Fi is so important these days. So you see, and it's so important that even during the pandemic, we communicate, we share our measures, we get updates, we update the organization, and then we get valuable external information. There's always need to be ongoing information with your organization, with your superiors, and with your colleagues. If not, how would anyone know you're working? Isn't it? All right, so this is very important. So employee communication is important, and we need the remote working tools. The most important remote working tool is the internet, having a Wi-Fi, having a stable connection, so that you're able to work. You're able to work with your staff, with your bosses, with your subordinates, as well as your superiors. Okay, so employee communication is very important. All right, top down as well as bottom up. Top down for management to staff, as well as staff to the management. Okay, so sometimes you see many organizations, especially MNC companies, we have open door communication with the bosses, with the superiors, with your colleagues. You can communicate openly. So there is no closed room. Whereas a lot of Asian companies still don't have open door policies, in the sense that when you want to talk to your boss, you want to talk to your superior, you still have to make an appointment, speak to him privately. You get what I mean? So it's important that there is open communication at all times in the organization. And this can be a challenge to managers if you don't practice an open communication system, open communication approach in the organization. All right. I hope you are getting me. I hope all of you are benefiting, are learning something. All right. I hope you're learning something.
No, this is fine. Fine. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. And then there is also, then we go on to challenge number 5, which is uncertainty. You see, during the COVID pandemic, we were all uncertain for this past 1 year. We had no idea when was the vaccine going to, when was the vaccine in force, and then what's going to happen, when were we going back to the office. But thankfully, the vaccines are here, and the vaccines are here, and people are getting vaccinated, and things are looking good. Things are looking bright, and very soon. And then, in fact, I was back to the office on the 1st of March, and many offices have already opened, and many of us are already back to work. All right, back to work, and we're happy to work. Am I right? But there was a lot of uncertainty, and with uncertainty comes fear, anxiety. Am I right? Apprehension. Apprehension, anxiety, because you don't know what the future holds. You don't know where was this pandemic going to end. But thank God, thankfully, we see that this pandemic is coming to an end. Is coming to an end. We see the vaccines are being successfully administered. We see lots of people getting better. We see less deaths. We see less cases also. So thank God that the uncertainty is coming to an end. All right. So that was one thing the managers had to deal with in the past. Uncertainty of the staff during the COVID, now during the pandemic, during the lockdown. Yeah, during the lockdown. Then there is employee engagement. All right. The ultimate goal is the productivity. The ultimate goal now is that we want employees to be productive. All right, it becomes challenging, to keep employees engaged when they're working remotely. Okay, when they're working at their own houses, when they're working, how do you keep them challenged as a manager? How do you keep them, but how do you have them participate? How do you have them participate to keep them engaged with the organization? It's not easy, because when you don't see them, you cannot. It's not easy to keep them engaged. Yes, so that's why it's very important that the internal communication is not compromised. Internal communication is always open. All right, with remote working, it is difficult to follow a routine and even accept a systematic workflow. So, and with teams which are cross-functional meaning you don't only belong to one team, but sometimes you belong to two teams. If the organization is big, like IBM, you belong to two teams. You can be, it's a matrix organization whereby you report to the local manager as well as to the overseas manager. So things like that are cross-functional. So it's not easy to keep your staff engaged. That's why as a manager, you must come up with ways and methods to keep your staff engaged. Like example, online meetings, Zoom calls, online meetings, Zoom calls, and online seminars like what we are doing now, online feedback, employee voice, employee participation, keeping in touch with your staff. All this helps with keeping employee engaged. All right, with keeping employee engaged. So these are not the only challenges we face with the HR with the COVID pandemic. There's so many other challenges. Sometimes staff get demotivated. So what do we do? So as managers, we need to motivate our staff. We need to find ways and means to motivate our staff. And as you know, money is the biggest motivator. But money it doesn't only stop there. There are hygiene factors, motivational factors, there are intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic meaning you give them satisfaction, recognition, you give them credit. Whereas extrinsic motivation is external motivation, where you give them salary, increments, bonuses, incentives, company house, company car. Those are external motivation. So you see, so these are also some of the challenges to keep your staff motivated. As a boss, as a manager, you have to keep your staff motivated at all times. So that is one thing. Keeping your staff motivated, keeping your staff productive. All right, keeping your staff productive is also important. How do you keep your staff productive? All right, you cannot be just being with an iron fist. Okay, you either do this or you're out. You do this or you're out. That shouldn't be the way. You should always motivate them positively. All right, with how incentives, bonuses, incentives, bonus, intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. All right, intrinsic and extrinsic rewards. So motivation is one of the challenges managers face. And also, as we saw just now, not all managers have open communication flow, open communication though. Some managers have a problem with communicating. All right, communication is a problem, not only the language, but also in terms of openness. All right, they're not very transparent. All right, so it's important that as a manager, you remain transparent to your staff at all times. The transparency is there, the honesty is there, the sincerity is there, the integrity is also there. All right, it's important that you maintain open communication channels with your staff so that they can feel free to come to you as a manager. Always remember that most of their working hours are spent at the office. Therefore, there must be a family mindedness, there must be a unity and harmony between the staff, between every one of us in the organization. So the manager must inculcate that unity that sense of belonging, or we are a family, whatever it is we share, we help each other, we work together, we are united and we are harmonious. That is the best relationship to inculcate in the office, and that's the best way to get the job done, to ensure that everyone is productive. So as a manager, your role is very challenging. Very challenging. There's so many challenges you face, not only the 6 that we saw, but there are so many other challenges that you face in the organization. And what happens when someone leaves, or some people, some employees will want to leave, to take care of their parents, or afraid of the pandemic, or then that also are things which as a manager you need to address, you need to manage, you need to take care. All right, you need to manage and you need to take care. Okay. All right. So the list can go on. These are not the only challenges, all right, we face. So just to recap, we have seen 6 challenges that we face as managers in the HR department. Number 1, mental health and well-being. You want all your staff to be healthy, not only physically, but emotionally as well as mentally. You want them to be happy and satisfied. All right, a good worker will perform well. Okay, job satisfaction. Number 2, you want to be able to manage everyone, even though they are working remotely. All right, not with an iron hand or with an iron fist, but liberally, so that everyone is happy, everyone is satisfied, and everyone is able to contribute their best, to put the best foot forward. All right. Number 3, you want to be flexible, because these days we see there's a lack of agility, there's lack of flexibility. So you want to be flexible with everyone in the organization. You want to be agile. You want to be able to move with the times. You want to be competitive. All right, lack of agility. And then there is you must also keep, as I mentioned many times, there has to be employee communication, open doors of communication. So anyone is able to come and speak to you, your staff is able to open up to you, and you're able to speak to your staff. All right, as a friend, there is two-way communication, a dialogue, not a monologue, but instead a dialogue. And then we move on, and then we also see that we must curb uncertainty. All right, encourage your staff, motivate your staff, so that they do not get demotivated, they do not feel afraid, they do not feel anxious, but instead they are happy to work. They're happy to come to the office. They feel a sense of security working in the organization. All right, they feel a sense of security. And there also has to be employee engagement. When the employee is happy, they are happy to. And employee engagement meaning getting your employees to participate in the organization, getting your employee to be engaged to participate. So you see, getting employee engagement is not easy. Employee engagement as well as empowerment. You get them to engage, to participate in the organization, and you empower them, give them the power to decide within their job scope. Okay, within their job scope. And the list goes on. The others that I mentioned are how to keep them motivated. Always keep them motivated, happy, motivate them to move forward, to propel forward, to move forward, to be healthy, to be strong. Build a healthy culture in the organization, a culture of family-mindedness, unity, harmony. So do that. So be united, help them to motivate it, and keep them happy. All right, keep them happy. I would like to share now a video with you to show you the shift of working from the house, from the office to the house during the COVID pandemic. Okay, I hope you enjoy this video. Let me show it to you. Please be patient as I present this video.
Covid-19 is transforming people's relationship to work, with millions now out of a job, and many more getting used to working in a very different way. The proportion of Americans working from home full-time has gone from 1 in 50 to more than 1 in 3.
COVID has been a transformation, and that raises a whole bunch of questions. Do you need as much expensive office space, and do individual workers need to commute into the office every day?
The need for workers to gather together in offices has shaped almost every aspect of modern life. And the shift towards remote working could have far-reaching consequences. It could alter the shape and purpose of cities, affect gender equality, and even change how we think about time. The modern office emerged along with the Industrial Revolution, when people migrated to cities in search of work.
Factories required everybody to be together so they could take advantage of the powered machinery. That started to bring everybody into cities where they could work together and easily walk to the place where they were working. That in turn led to the growth of the offices to manage all those companies.
Early offices were organised into rows of desks for clerks, overseen by a central manager, mirroring the production line on the factory floor. And 200 years later, despite the rise of the internet, the basic function of the office persists.
We made the leap from seeing that people could communicate via electronic means, via email, via shared documents, without realising that didn't mean that everybody had to be in the same place.
You've got mail.
We've had 20 odd years since the internet, and office design is really only starting to reflect the real possibilities of that change.
The uncomfortable truth about offices is that they are expensive and inefficient. Companies spend on average $10,000 on office space per employee every year. The most expensive office real estate is in Hong Kong, where every square foot costs on average $265 per year. Beijing and London are the next most expensive locations. The need for social distancing in the wake of the pandemic could reduce the number of staff in London offices by 2/3, making the office look like an expensive artefact.
I've talked to companies that say they're thinking of maybe using 2 floors in a building instead of 4, or maybe using regional offices as small sub-offices so that not everybody has to commute into a big city.
Let me tell you a story about the time when I first graduated, broke and jobless, and my father scolded me, "Why don't you go get a job?" And
Hold on, it's streaming. It's a bit slow, yeah?
The idea of workers clocking in and out at the same time every day also dates back to the Industrial Revolution. Before that, people were paid based on how much they made, rather than the amount of time they spent at work. And if the office ceases to be the centre of working life, the idea of working set hours, or the 9 to 5, will become less meaningful.
We may well work on a Sunday or a Saturday afternoon if that's more convenient for us. We're shifting back again to people being paid for their function and not for the time they turn up.
Tech companies are leading the charge towards remote working. Twitter has already said its staff need never come back to the office if they don't want to. And Facebook says half its staff could be working remotely in a decade. These types of high-skill, highly paid roles have a disproportionate impact on the economy. They are known as knowledge jobs, and where they are physically located is important, as they support entire ecosystems of other jobs around them.
For every knowledge jobs and 5 other jobs that are dependent on that job. Some of these are very highly skilled, like lawyers and doctors, but most of them are lower skilled jobs like baristas, yoga instructors, and other sort of urban services. Once you add up the spillovers that they contribute, The majority of Americans are employed in a way that means that they're dependent on knowledge jobs.
Although it's impossible to know exactly how many other roles are supported by these so-called knowledge jobs, if they were to become remote positions, it would have a profound impact on the jobs they support in the wider economy. But this isn't a one-way street. Knowledge jobs are such powerful drivers of the economy because they are usually based in cities.
The reason that knowledge jobs tend to be located in cities is because they depend very heavily on these agglomeration effects. So when you put lots of people very closely together, they become much, much more productive. So Americans living in agglomerations with more than 1 million people are more than 50% more productive than ones living in metros with smaller populations. The question for knowledge workers is whether you can replicate those productivity benefits with a looser relationship to a city or sort of no relationship to a city.
Those able to work from home are a privileged minority. And in general, the higher a country's GDP per head, the more people are able to work remotely. In Cambodia, just 11% of jobs can be done from home, compared with 45% in Switzerland or 37% in America. But the work-from-home revolution is having a particularly pronounced effect on some groups within the workforce.
The world is entering into an economic recession. Market volatility is at an all-time high, and that is when there's a huge opportunity in the
Women are more likely to work in face-to-face roles, and so they have been disproportionately affected by the recession caused by Covid-19. In previous recessions, men have generally been more likely to be laid off, as they are overrepresented in manufacturing and construction. This time around, more women in America have lost their jobs. And those who've kept their jobs have extra challenges. Mothers are now interrupted over 50% more often than fathers.
All right, you kids, knock it out!
But the normalisation of home working during the pandemic could also have long-term benefits for some female workers.
If remote work becomes this way of working that has no stigma attached to it, then I think that requirement that you drop everything and be in the office all the time for these sort of very high-powered careers will sort of slacken slightly. I think that it might be a good thing for women to sort of help them break through.
Although offices are sitting empty, corporate leases can run for as long as a decade, and there has not yet been a rush to sell office real estate. So the office, in some form, looks set to survive the pandemic.
I'm sceptical when people say, oh, well, we've sort of proved that we can do it from anywhere. I'm like, well, you just try and do it for a year, and we'll see whether you're as productive as you were.
The global experiment in remote working has shown there are some things that are hard to foster online, like corporate culture and creativity. And these will be the mainstays of the post-pandemic office.
Well, that's about all I've got to say. A darn good job of saying it, too.
For younger workers, they make friends and connections and a network where they can get on in life later on. It's very hard to build a kind of esprit de corps in a company for people who haven't met. Offices will be less of a prison cell and more of a collaborative area, more of a games room, where you go in to try and shoot the breeze with your colleagues and come up with something different.
It may feel like the pandemic has revolutionised working life, but in some ways, it has simply come full circle. Before the Industrial Revolution, there was no working week, no 9 to 5, or fixed workplace for many people. And thanks to Covid-19, this may be closer to the way things will look when the world emerges from lockdown.
The longer you wait to learn how to properly invest, the more you are at risk of falling into the single income handicap.
I'm Philip Coggan. I'm the Bartleby Economist of The Economist, covering management and work. If you'd like to read more about COVID-19 and its effect on working life, click the link opposite.
Okay, everyone. I hope you found it very. I hope you found it very.
Financial center, the city of London, at one.
Okay. Okay. I hope you found it beneficial. I hope you see. That's how we see. You see the video. How we see it has COVID has revolutionized the working space, our working life. Now you're working more from the house rather than the office, and then you also see the lots of companies are downsizing from 4 floors. They go down to 2 floors. They reduce the number of floors. I know they reduce coming into the office just for protection, to maintain the safe distance from people. So you see, COVID has really changed the way we work, the way we do things. All right, as you saw in the video just now. Okay, now I open up for questions. Do you have any questions, or does anybody want to share their experience of how COVID has affected them and how they started to work at home, and how it has affected their experiences and work-life experience? Would someone like to share? Would anyone like to share or ask a question?
Give us a minute just to give an announcement to the audiences.
Okay.
The audiences kindly forward your questions to our chat box. Then we will direct our guest speaker. Before that, those who are attending tonight at this seminar, as you know that we are going to issue a certificate of attendance. For that, we will send a survey form end of the seminar. Before that, like other programs, ISDC has organized something special for you, the professional course in HRM. So we'd like to brief you on that a bit more, then we will go to our Q&A session. All right. So ISDC, or International Skills Development Center, is offering a professional course in human resource management. This is for those not necessarily having a prerequisite or pre-qualification. Those who are working adults also can join this course to get the latest update about what is happening in human resource industry. In Asian countries like Bangladesh, India, or Nepal, still we are calling it human resource management, while in the Western countries, they no longer call this human resource, they call it human capital management. So there is a paradigm shift in this industry. So the specialty about this professional course organized by ISDC is collaboration with Wilmington Metropolitan University, US. This is a very project-based and practical course. This course is duration is 3 months, and the lecturer or the facilitator is an industry expert. As I mentioned, this course is suitable for all working adults, and no previous experience is required. Very minimal cost for this professional course. The certification for the certification, I mean the course is, as I mentioned, duration is 3 months. Over 3 months, there will be 12 sessions, and there will be some assignment or task whereby the candidate who are attending this course has to complete each task successfully, and it has to be minimum 70% marks to complete this course. This is a sample certificate, how it looks like from Wilmington Metropolitan University. This certificate can be your added advantage to your CV, those who are fresh graduates applying for human resource career, and those who are working, this would be added advantage for your career path. The fees, normally our regular fees for this course is $125 US, but we are giving a scholarship of 68%. After the scholarship, the amount in USD is $40 US. In Bangladeshi currency, that is 3,400, and Nepal rupees 4,700. Bhutan BTN is 2,918, and Malaysian is 170 ringgit. So those who are interested to attend this professional course, we will provide a link for admission in the chat box. You can fill up this. Those are interested only complete this form, otherwise it's not necessary, because we are giving this scholarship opportunities for first 15 students only. So to avail this scholarship, you need to fill up the application form as soon as possible. Those who have decided to take the course already. Otherwise, you can do our regular courses anytime. And then we will move to our Q&A session. So I repeat, these scholarship opportunities for the first 15 applications. I will open the floor for question and answer to our special speaker. The admission form is provided in the link. The link is provided in the chat box. You can complete the form. Those who would like to ask any question to our guest speaker can unmute and ask question to our guest speaker directly. Alternatively, you all can put the question in the chat box as well. Dr. Shin, are you there?
Yes, Mr. Shivel, I'm here.
Right. There's a question that the challenges is in this industry are regional or global, or is there any difference between the global or especially the problems in the Asian region?
Okay, you see this, the challenges I mentioned. Thank you, Mr. Shivel, for the question. The challenges are also meant for all global as well as local. But then, of course, there will be different challenges globally. Also, there will be added challenges globally as well as local challenges. You see, globally we will see the same challenges: communication, remote working, mental health. So most of all this actually applies globally as well as locally. But there will be added challenges for locals as well as global challenges. So global challenges, some of the additional ones would be like maybe the weather, the season, the season, because like you see in Western countries, you've got 4 different seasons, whereas in Asian countries, we only got 2 seasons, So that's one of the added challenges for the Western countries. Whereas for the local countries, maybe you can say that also the weather could be too hot or even too cold. Okay, so there will be the same challenges applies across everyone, but there are definitely be added challenges, whether you're locally or globally. Does that answer your question?
Right. Thank you very much. Muqtadir, you have raised your question. You'd like to ask any question? Our speaker is there. Muqtadir.
Yes, I have question.
Yes, please.
What are the benefits in our country perspective, this course?
So you're mainly from Bangladesh. So Dr. Muqtadir is from Bangladesh. So he's
Right.
the benefits in Bangladesh perspective.
Is this a question for me, sir, or is it for?
Yes.
Okay, thank you for the question. You see, human resource is humans are the most important assets in the organization. Okay, some people might say it's the IT or it is the materials or labor, but it's the most important is human resource. Every organization will have a human resource personnel. Every organization, whether they like it or not. Okay, therefore, if you learn, because every company has people, no company you can say has no people. Am I right? And human resource deals with people. So it is a very good course to learn, good course to pursue, because everywhere you go, there are people to manage. Okay, where there are every organization that there are people. You cannot say there's no people here. Every organization, when you learn this course, you learn how to manage people. You learn the problems people face. You learn how to handle the problems, how to have them, keep them participating, keep them engaged, keep them satisfied, keep them happy. You learn compensation, salary, you learn benefits, you will learn how to handle conflicts, arguments. So there's a wide range of scope for you to learn. And so even if you don't go into the HR line, you still learn a lot because you learn to deal with people. So either way you benefit. You go into HR line, very good for you because you can learn, you have learned about people, you'll be able to manage. You don't go into HR line, also it's very good for you because you have learned about people, you're going to work with people. You work with people, you work for people. So either way, you have to learn. So it's, and even if it's not in the organization, at home you deal with people. Am I right? In the office you deal with people. In the house you deal with people. You deal with your friends. So all this will help you. Give you an all-rounded view, how to deal with people in the office, in the house, with your friends, in social life, in every aspect. So human resource actually very beneficial. I've been in the HR line for many, many years, and I still enjoy and I still love the line. I still love HR. So I think it's a good line for you to enroll and to pursue. Okay. I hope we answered